Hi, I'm Michelle Seger with Riding the Big Wheel, your go-to resource for the real truth behind what it's like being a woman in leadership. I'm really excited to be here with you today and just thought I'd take a minute to talk to you about myself. So I am partner in a consulting firm, Sales Globe, with my business partner, Mark Danolo. We are out of Roswell, Georgia. We are a global consulting firm, so we've got some people in the London area and Singapore, and then, of course, across the United States. We solve sales challenges. And in that position that I have here, it gives me an opportunity to be in front of women in leadership every day. And if you listen to some of the podcasts, you'll understand why I started it to begin with. And it was those women that inspired me to do so. So I'm excited that you're here, and I hope that you'll enjoy this podcast and give us some feedback, and we'll see you there.
Sharing a story, everyone listen. Wind in her hair, run toward the unknown. When you're riding the big wheel, you're not.
So why am I starting a podcast anyway, and why now? I mean, I'm running my own business. I've got a family that I take care of. I travel a lot. I mean, a lot. And let's face it, we're in pretty serious economic times. So business it's pretty crazy right now. But there's one thing in all my years of business that has been bothering me a lot and something that I really thought I wanted to address. And what I found is that women, particularly women in leadership, they get lonely as they get to the top. Now, I know that sounds cliche, but it's really true. So whether you're leading a team, managing a few people, or really just building your career, what I found is that a lot of these women are saying that they don't have peers that they can really talk to about what you might be asking. Well, just challenges that they might have, successes, things that they can learn from one another. I mean, I just got done telling you that I'm really busy. And I could tell you that some of my closest friends in business, I meet with them maybe once or twice a year. And I thought, there's got to be something better than this. One of the advantages that I have in my business is I get to interact with people in leadership positions. And that would be men and women. And I get to talk to them about their challenges, their successes, what they see ahead, and a lot about the current environment. It's really interesting, and I'm so fortunate that I have that in my work. I happen to really love what I do. And what I found is that a lot of other women do as well. And so this podcast is really about hearing their stories, talking about their journeys, their struggles, their successes, and everything from the books they read, the places they go. And I really just wanted to create a forum where women could come and listen to other women and men who are talking about working with women in business. It's going to be really fun and exciting, and I know that the stories there will be really interesting and relevant for you. So what is my goal in the podcast? I had to really think about that one because there's a lot of things that I have been thinking about. I mean, it's so aspirational for me, but if I can have some women contact me and say, oh my gosh, I learned this from your podcast, or I linked in with this person and I even talked to her and it was really exciting and interesting, or I was listening to that guy that you were talking to and about his perspective on why women and men in the workplace are so good together, or why they're better or can be working together in sales, whatever it might be. My aspiration is that you learn something that inspires you and that helps you in your own journey of life. So what are we going to talk about on the podcast? Well, anything that my guest wants to talk about. And that's why it's going to be so fun. We'll discuss interesting and relevant topics. It could be lessons learned that they have in their journey of their career, macroeconomic impacts, some of the challenges that they're going through. So let me give you a sneak preview of some of the topics. We'll be discussing macroeconomic impacts that are happening and what some leaders see ahead in the business. some of the challenges that they're faced with, and how they're handling bringing people back into the office. That's like a real thing. And now there's massive layoffs that are underway, and the big topic of which way the pendulum is swinging, and is it going too far? What does that mean? Tune in and we'll discuss it. Why is my podcast name Riding the Big Wheel anyway? Well, I think this is kind of a good story. After weeks of looking up podcast names and just understanding what was out there, just nothing was really hitting it for me anyway. So anyway, I was down in Miami talking about, surprisingly enough, women in sales. And as part of that talk, I was asked if I would be part of a panel and was I game to be put on the spot. And I said, sure. First question they asked me was, what was your favorite memory from childhood? Now I'm pausing because I want you all to think about that same question, but what popped in my head surprised me as much as I think it surprised the person that asked me the question, and it was riding my big wheel. Riding my big wheel? Of all the things, I must have been 4 or 5 years old when I had that, but he did ask, in all fairness, of an early childhood experience. So for those of you that don't know what a big wheel is, let me just tell you. It's kind of a cross between a go-kart and a tricycle. Okay, so think about a tricycle that's low to the ground. It's plastic, but it has a back on it, almost like a go-kart, right? So you can steer it a little bit. And so what would happen is me and my friends would get to the top of this big hill, or so I thought it was a really big hill, in my neighborhood, and we'd all get at the top and we'd ride our big wheels down, and then we'd get all the way down to the bottom and start all over again. Well, what did I remember about that? That it was kind of scary and exhilarating. And I remember like gravel coming up. I'm like 5 years old. And my hair would be blowing in my face. And I felt really free, excited, a little scared. But I kept wanting to do it again and again and become perfect and really good at it. And I immediately called my production manager back here at my company at Sales Globe. And I said, okay, I got the name for the podcast. It's Riding the Big Wheel. And told her the story. Because I think about that in my own career and women that choose to embark on a career, whatever that career is. It's exciting. It's scary. It can be exhilarating. Sometimes we don't always know what's happening, and there are a lot of bumps along the way, and you might wipe out. And as someone told me once, it's not what happens when you fall down or you crash. What really matters is what you do after you get back up. Okay, so I'm going to make a promise to all of you, my listeners. I promise that we will be real, we will be relevant, and I hope very interesting. So I expect to bring great stories to you, real learnings, and I want to hear from you on this podcast because this is really for you, from me. It's my gift to you.